The manager who negotiated Alix Earl's biggest payday has never worked in Hollywood or Silicon Valley. He paves roads in New Jersey. In 2023, a soda company called Poppi came to Alix with a brand deal. At the time, she was reportedly charging $450,000 for a single Instagram story. So Poppi expected to hear a price. Her father told her to ask for equity instead. 2 years later, Pepsi bought Poppi for $1.95 billion, and that one decision was reportedly worth somewhere between $20 and $40 million. The internet filed this under luck. Pretty girl drinks a soda, soda gets bought, girl gets rich. But every version of this story leaves this part out. Equity isn't an automatic multi-million-dollar payday. Alix would find that out later the very hard way, when publicly, a business she spent 2 years building got taken away from her overnight. But what she built in response made $5 million in a single afternoon just a few months later. All right, let's get into it. Phase 1, the family that never took the paycheck. In 1968, a man named Walter Earl borrowed $25,000. He bought a small paver, a roller, and used a pickup truck, and he started laying asphalt in New Jersey. Over the next 30 years, that company became the Earl Companies, one of the largest heavy civil contractors in New Jersey, building roads, bridges, and highway infrastructure. Before Alix Earl became the creator every brand wanted on to promote them, she grew up in a world where people didn't just work for a company. They owned them. Alix was born and raised in Monmouth County, New Jersey, to a family of entrepreneurs. Her grandfather, Walter Earl, started Earl Asphalt in 1968, and over the next 30 years, Asphalt grew from a small pavement company into a serious heavy construction business, building major roads, bridges, and other core state infrastructure projects across all of New Jersey. And when Walter passed away in 2004, he left the company to his 3 sons. Rob Earl became president, Michael Earl became corporate secretary, and the middle son, Thomas Earl, who everyone knew as TJ, became vice president. TJ is Alix's father. The money is not the inheritance here. The education is. Most people are taught growing up that their goal should be to get the highest paying job when entering the workforce. But Alix grew up around people who saw money differently. In the Earl family, the real goal was not just to work for a company and to collect a great paycheck. The goal was to own the company itself. Growing up in a construction family does not teach you how to be famous, but it does teach you how contracts work. Contractors live inside bid documents, margins, and net payment terms. They know the difference between getting paid for the job and actually owning the thing the job builds for. Find where the ownership sits and then get on that side of it. That's the core of the family business and the mindset that Alix grew up around, and it set up everything that would come next. But growing up in an upper-class family doesn't mean Alix's childhood was easy and without conflict. In July 2008, the New York Post reported that her father was having an affair with Ashley Dupree, the escort at the center of the Elliot Spitzer scandal that had just taken down the governor of New York. Alix was 7. Her parents divorced in 2013, and her father married Dupree that same year. So this was not a private family problem that stayed inside the house. Everyone knew about it, the tabloids covered it, and Alix grew up watching something deeply personal turn into public conversation. Her parents eventually divorced, and TJ later married Dupree. So Alix grew up watching her family's private life get turned into somebody else's narrative with zero control of how the story was told. 14 years later, she would build her empire and personal brand on the inverse of that. Tell the story yourself first before anyone else can frame it. In high school, Alix worked at Hazel Boutique, a local clothing store. She modeled some of the clothes and helped run the shop's Instagram. It was a small job, but she was already learning the basic skill that would later make her millions. Phase 2, the viral video she almost didn't post. In the fall of 2019, Alix went to the University of Miami to study marketing. She also started running the social media and marketing strategy for her family's company part-time. Then in February 2020, Alix posted her first TikTok on her personal account. It was a video of her and her friends wearing outfits made of trash bags. Soon, Alix's content turned into outfit videos, party clips, boat days, and sorority content. Basically, the same kind of content thousands of college students posted. By the start of 2022, she had gained a few 100,000 followers across platforms, which might sound impressive until you realize that's roughly where thousands of interchangeable college-aged creators sit. Alix's content wasn't failing by any means, but her personal brand was far from a real business. She was just another pretty college girl on an app full of them. A brand could replace her on a campaign if needed before lunch. In the summer of 2022, Alix developed severe cystic acne. She was embarrassed by it and did what most people would do. She tried to hide it. But one day, she had a branded sponsored post due and was embarrassed to be on camera. But instead of pulling the plug on the deal or covering everything up, Alix filmed it with her skin exactly as it was and talked honestly about the acne and her insecurities around it. That video would go on to be the backbone of her whole brand. It broke the typically polished and filtered version of an influencer that people were begging to grow bored of. Alix was attractive, upper class, living the Miami college life, going to parties, and also showing the parts of her life that weren't perfect as well. What followed next were a slew of candid get ready with me videos of Alix doing her makeup, telling stories, slightly oversharing, and treating the camera like a friend rather than a customer. She would talk about acne, breakups, bad nights out, embarrassing stories, all the things most influencers would hide behind perfect lighting and a filter. Within months, she had millions of followers, and some of the biggest brands started to take notice almost immediately. Tarte flew her to Dubai on a private jet for an influencer trip so lavish it became its own viral controversy, and Alix's vlogs and content from it exploded her audience to new heights. Rare Beauty booked her for a Get Ready With Me sitting next to Selena Gomez herself. Benefit, owned by luxury giant LVMH, put out a makeup bag with "Alix made me buy it" printed on the side. Grubhub, White Fox, Amazon, the offers kept stacking, and Alix's brand rate climbed with every single one. When Alix became famous, many people were surprised by how open she was about her life online. Alix had already spent years watching private problems become public. So when millions of people started watching her, she did not try and make herself look perfect. She told the story herself, leaned into the mess, and turned that honesty into one of the biggest reasons people kept coming back. Then something started happening that most brands could not explain. When Alix would casually mention a product or use it on camera, in many cases without being paid at all, it would instantly sell out. A marketing firm called Ubiquitous began to track the products in Alix's content and found that almost every single product she featured would go from almost no search interest to peak search interest within 24 hours. In December 2022, Alix mentioned 3 lash products in one video. All 3 hit peak search traffic just hours later. Whether it was a luxury $100 concealer, a cheap $10 eyeliner, it made no difference. Once Alix Earl used it, her audience went looking for it, and the stores started to run out of the product. People started calling it the Alix Earl effect. She had built an asset with a measurable conversion rate, and the market prices rare assets like that very well. In April 2025, the New York Times reported a marketing executive who had worked on Alix Earl's deals commented that her rate was $450,000 for a single Instagram story. But take a look at what that number actually is, because this is what everyone always misses. $450,000 for a single Instagram story is a spectacular rate. It's also a ceiling. Rate times posts times however many campaigns a brand feels like buying. When the work stops, the money stops, and the brand keeps every dollar of value your attention created for them permanently. And Alix's father had spent his entire career on the wrong side of that arrangement. Phase 3, equity over invoices. Now this is where Poppy comes in. Alix had been drinking Poppy since college, before her brand endorsement was worth anything. Even after growing an audience, Alix continued to post the product because she genuinely liked it. And Poppy quickly took notice and came to the negotiation table. The standard influencer contract is a rental agreement. A brand pays a creator, the creator films the content, gets paid, posts it, and moves on. The brand gets a few days of attention from the creator's audience, and the creator gets a check. That's where the deal structure ends. Equity flips that structure on its head. The brand hands the creator a direct slice of the company instead of a flat rate per post. It costs the brand less in the short term, but relies on the creator seeing the long-term value in the brand and believing that their equity might actually be worth something someday. TJ Earl, Alix's father, knew this deal structure like the back of his hand from being the VP of the family business. He looked at Poppy and came to the conclusion that the company was valued below what it was actually worth and urged Alix to push for an equity stake rather than a flat fee for promotion. Alix's father reminded her that she wasn't just another creator that Poppy could pay to hold a can on camera. Alix had built an audience that could make products disappear from shelves overnight. Poppy knew that, and so did Alix. So around 2023, instead of quoting Alix's traditional brand rate, they came to the negotiating table and asked for shares. In his own words, they negotiated Alix's fee in equity, betting that Alix would get significantly higher upside if and when the company sold. Alix would still promote the brand, but instead of taking a flat payment and walking away, she would own a small piece of what she was helping build. If Poppy got bigger, her stake got more valuable, and if the company eventually sold, she would be part of that payday as well. Alix has been transparent about how the deal works. She commented that she never took upfront cash from Poppy apart from a revenue share on the specific flavor she heavily promoted, and once the deal was done, Alix went public with the stake and started calling herself a proud investor. Then she put the brand everywhere her audience was already watching. Alix renewed her Poppy contract annually, and every renewal added more equity to the pile. Now, notice that structure, because it's the most overlooked part. She didn't take one big grand slice of equity and then coast. Every year since Alix's contract began, she's demonstrated improved her value and come back to the cap table for an even bigger slice. Poppy's own marketing chief later said nobody else working with the company had an arrangement like hers. Then came Coachella 2024. Poppy built a branded house for Alix and her friends at Coachella. They renamed it Coach Earla, and it quickly became one of those brand activations people actually remembered and talked about it after the festival was over. Here we are years later talking about it. Poppy later commented that sales jumped 200% that weekend alone from Alix's Coachella content. Alix also designed and promoted her own exclusive Poppy can on her favorite flavor, sold in all stores across all of the US. In February 2025, Alix starred in Poppy's Super Bowl commercial, and the results were immediate. The brand's Instagram engagement jumped 250%, its TikTok following went up 70%, and searches for Alix herself shot up more than 1,100% as the commercial aired. 5 weeks later, on March 7, 2025, Pepsi announced it was buying Poppy for $1.95 billion. The deal closed on May 19th, and Alix's equity bet had finally paid off. Alix's stake in 2023 most likely would have been tiny, probably under 1% of the company. But at a $1.95 billion exit, even 1% is worth nearly $20 million. And while nobody knows her exact equity percentage, her father did comment that her equity converted into a pretty significant gain. In fact, the Poppy equity deal wasn't just a one-off. In March 2025, Alix joined the $3 million investment round for Sip Margs, a canned margarita brand. She came in both as an investor and a brand partner, with the company agreeing she would be involved in its marketing and creative direction. Then, in December 2025, Alix also became a strategic investor in Gorgie, an energy drink company where her role also included brand strategy and marketing. But if the story ended there, you'd walk away with the wrong lesson. If you're getting any value out of this, by the way, hit subscribe. This channel takes operators apart as money systems, the deals, the cap tables, the specific decision made at the specific moment it was made. New breakdowns every single week, because the answer has almost nothing to do with her percentage and everything to do with a number most people never even ask for. Phase 4, building on rented land. In September 2023, Alix launched a brand new podcast called Hot Mess under Alex Cooper's Unwell network. From day one, the podcast became an instant hit with her audience and quickly became a serious piece of her business and personal brand. But in February 2025, Unwell dropped the podcast from their network. Unwell returned the rights to the show to Alix, which sounds generous on paper, but look at what the rights actually cover in this situation. Alix got the name of the show back and the copyright back, but she did not get the ad sales infrastructure or the distribution machine that pushed the show out every week to new viewers. The audience was still hers, millions of people still knew Alix and wanted to hear from her, but the business system behind the scenes that turned her audience into revenue belonged to somebody else. Alix had built a business on rented land. After leaving Unwell, Alix could have signed to another major podcast network, but that would have meant swapping one landlord for a new one. Instead, she paused the show, rebuilt it on her own channels, and brought it back under her own company. Instead, after a brief hiatus, Alix brought Hot Mess back herself that summer as a video-first show on her own YouTube channel and Spotify. This time, she had far more control over where the show lived, how it made money, and what would happen next. Same show, same audience, but a completely different ownership structure. That lesson is what made Alix's next move inevitable, and it's one that she's been building in the background for years. Phase 5, the secret company being built the whole time. For roughly 2 years, through the Super Bowl ads, through the Poppy sale, through the Unwell fallout, Alix was quietly building a company she would own outright. She partnered with Imaginary Ventures, the same investment behind brands like Skims, Glossier, and Kosas, to build Real Actives, to build her new company around the exact thing she used to hide from the camera: acne. The company is called Real Actives. Real is Earl, but with the letters scrambled. And Alix didn't just license her name to the company. She is founder and chief creative officer. She then hired Andrea, a beauty executive out of Kiehl's and The Body Shop, as CEO to run operations, and developed the products with Dr. Kieran Meehan, her own dermatologist, the same doctor her audience had watched her visit for years. Real Actives was built around acne, the exact thing Alix used to try to cover up on camera. The breakouts that made her feel insecure in 2022 ended up becoming the starting point for the first company she actually owned. Then Alix ran the launch campaign for Reel in a way that only she could pull off. On March 18, 2026, an unexplained Instagram account appeared. The handle was WTF is Alix doing? No product, no announcement, just cryptic posts and puzzle pieces. A billboard went up in New York and filled itself in one piece at a time. Influencers started receiving mystery packages, posts that made people think something big was coming without telling them what it was. And within a week, the account had 400,000 followers before even announcing anything, and that Alix's audience was all buzzing about it and had their wallets ready. Alix didn't have to buy attention for her product launch. She just cashed the check that she had built with her audience for years. She opened a gap and let her audience promote it for her. They did 2 weeks of marketing labor free on a product that didn't exist publicly yet. Anticipation is the only kind of inventory you can manufacture free. Reel Actives went on sale at 9 a.m. and it crossed 1 million in under 5 minutes and 5 million by mid-afternoon. By 4 p.m., every product was sold out and Alix had already more than doubled the expected demand. This is what 4 years of building an audience can do. Alix didn't wake up one morning, announce a skincare brand, and hope people cared. Her audience had watched the acne videos, they had watched her hide her skin, talk about treatments, visit dermatologists, try products, get frustrated, and slowly get more comfortable showing her face again. So when Reel Actives finally came out, it did not feel like a random influencer product. It felt like the next part of a story people had already been following for years. Now, in 1968, Walter Earl borrowed 25 grand and bought a used pickup truck. 57 years later, his granddaughter turned an Instagram story into an 8-figure position in a soda company using the exact same entrepreneurial mindset that he taught his sons on a job site. This has been the Alix Earl portfolio breakdown. If you want to see another operator run this exact same playbook, but in a completely different lane, the breakdown is on your screen now. I'm Buster. I'll see you next time. Peace.